at a firing range, you may notice that in the back they have what looks like a really big bass horn speaker tweeter on its side, a big slot in the back where the bullets go, and big metal funnels, sometimes with a trough in the middle of them. Deflection plate angles at the range may be listed if you can get close enough to the stickers, or they may say it, at 12 degrees based on your input. Now, is that 12 degrees between them? That's 90. Or is it 45 degrees, reference to the shooter and the bullets coming in? The 12 degrees is the same sort of question. So it adds up to 24 degrees if you're going to calculate width versus length. You start with a triangle shape if you want to make one of these. So let's do a silhouette target. I'm going to round the numbers off as far as height and width, and these are the answers you may have been looking for making a bullet trap or a snail lead collector or other names. Make two steel triangles that are 56 inches tall with a 24-inch wide base for the top and the bottom. That's for the funnel shape and the angle to a 0 point in the back. Make two others that are trapezoids, 56 inches tall, quote unquote. That's really how long it is. But they're 45-inch at the base and 21-inch at the top, so you get a 21-inch slit this way. Guess I'm saying putting the slit this way, not right to left like you might see at the firing range. We're doing a different one. These are the sides. Welding them together will give you a major challenge, and they won't come out exactly right. Then cut them on purpose, and you'll end up with a gap that's about an inch across. You'll end up with it. Or use that, figure out what the cut would be, and then make one, use cardboard or wood, and then make it out of metal without having to cut any excess off. Trust me, you're going to have to cut off excess. This makes a 5-foot-ish long funnel that you can weld to the small end of it into a 2-inch wide slit inside of a steel pipe that's 6 inches across. The idea is that primarily people are shooting right-handed, and you might see that bullets may hit more to the right or the left if they're coming in at an angle. Whatever angle is going to be more blunt, you want to make that one the least blunt, so you want to turn it that way. So what you do is you make this thing and you decide, okay, the angle the bullets are coming in are more extreme, are going to be, let's say, on the left, for instance. You want that to lead in so that a bullet comes in and goes skittering along the interior of the container at an angle that will cause the energy to go away. Now, do you make it to where it goes in and then slides around a spiral, which is how this pipe is done, and the spiral goes from being like this to this? Or do you want it to be like this, so it comes in and hits the edge on the other side? You can flip it over. The top and the bottom of the pipe are not sealed, so whichever end you want to do, it doesn't matter. Make your triangle like this, and make the circle not go to your Illuminati symbology thing like this. You make it go at an angle, a very extreme one, to where it has a snail spiral coming out, and then the other gap just kind of peeks in. Again, you're going to be doing these things, and you're going to do it in cardboard or wood first, figure out how this is going to be, and then weld it appropriately. One of the sides, you want to make it go in at a smooth angle. The other one should skip off and definitively deflect the bullet into the smoother edge. You want to make sure that curl is almost a perfect circle. That means you're going to make a really weird looking shape where the bullet keeps spinning around and round and round and then falls into a bucket at the bottom. The top part, whichever one you want it to be the top part, you can flip it either direction, you put an air filter in. First, a very heavy air filter that's made out of thick steel with not slots cut in it, but holes. You start with a big one, you cut a smaller size down in it, and have a slightly bigger than that hole plate under it. That means you're going to have to make a bunch of them. You can cut one and then the other with a hole in it and then stack them in a pattern to where you end up with this set of patterns to where things can't get stuck in there. And then on top of that, you put a dust filter because a lot of the lead will turn into lead powdered dust. You do not want that in the air. You want all of the lead to end up in a bucket, preferably by the end of that snail pipe being several inches long. You're going to end up with a 21-inch tall slot going this way, not laying this way. This will cause the bullets to go in, and they may come out very hard, so you want to make sure you put it into a bucket that has a steel liner thrown into it. This will get all the lead and keep it from having to end up in the environment. And if you're going to start screaming about Greenpeace, which or PETA or tree huggers, every few years everyone finds out you need to retain lead to lower the cost of the stuff. So you need to recycle it, and keeping it out of the water supply keeps you from getting damaged. Anybody who proudly crows about how lead doesn't hurt anybody is either absolutely fucking stupid or is just trying to poke you and trigger you. They're always bullshit. Ignore them. Make these things, put them behind your silhouette targets, and then scale them up after you build them. You don't make this bigger. You make this a small one. I mean, it's 5 feet long. You can make it with more extreme angles, but these are the angles where you can get away with using really shitty mild steel, not something expensive. And then what you do is you then create a firing lane that spreads out from that to however wide you need to be comfortable at a shooting bench with wood planks and then steel plates put in front of it. You put the steel plates ahead of it, just barely, let's say this is the funnel, to where it touches the edge in so that it overlaps like the shingles on the roof. And then you do it with another and another as far out as you can until you get them to where they're about parallel, coming to where your shooting bench is. This reduces the likelihood of getting hurt. And then on the floor, you put down tarps to pick up anything that bounces off, or maybe even steel plates if you need to. Again, lean them into the opening. The opening will be funnel-shaped top to bottom and right to left, which will make it to where it's almost impossible for anything to come back at you. Next, yes, there's always a next. On top of the air filter part, whether it's the top of it or you flip it over and the bottom is being used for that, make sure at every time you do this, you put a fan on it that's pulling air towards it, so it keeps pulling dust towards it instead of towards you. Any lead exposure is dangerous. Next, wipe your guns down with gun cleaning oil that is supposed to remove copper and lead, preferably, but especially lead, and you need to sweep everything towards the opening and let it go into it, and go into, lastly, a little ditch or a little groove in the bottom there to catch the stuff that does actually get out, because you want to collect that as well. Pour it into the canister as well. Do it while wearing a respirator and gloves. Clean your guns completely clean and put them away. If you shoot on a regular basis, I recommend you shoot with the same gun that you carry, and I recommend you shoot with the same ammo. Shooting target ammo will work just fine. Please just start learning to reload and or use cheap ammo and use the stuff that's readily available and will work, and train with that, please. And anybody out there that wants to do shot timers and talk about how Paul Harrell's meat target isn't valid, don't bother posting, because I'll just make fun of you. Or I'll just be wrong. You can choose. You decide. You be the judge, because you're gonna. Anyway, why did I do this? Someone had not worked up this information. I'll include a stupidly done bitmap version of it in the video icon, and maybe an Imager and an archive of the Imager, because Imager, like every other website, has started to make it really hard to go to their sites at all. Now the last part of the video, technical subject. How many of you experienced where you're on your YouTube channel and you want to hit approve or not approve, and YouTube acts like it just deleted a comment you approved, or just approved a comment you were trying to delete? This is intentional. Depending on whether or not you do wrongthink, YouTube and Google and many other websites, Reddit, Imager, are now just messing with you based on what browser you're using when it's unnecessary. Instead of making everything compatible, they're going out of their way to make it aggravating as fuck. Tell me if you've experienced that. This is a technical issue that's been bugging me for about a week now, because I approve people's comments and then they disappear. I'm not even sure if I did it. So I paid really close attention and hovered over the check mark, and it said removed instead of approved. Next, for any of you out there that write user interfaces or deal with being clear to people to prevent injury, using the word approve and remove verbally is motherfucking dumb. Don't do that. That's like a parent yelling across the street, don't cross the street. The child can't hear the word don't in a noisy environment. They're going to hear cross the street and walk into traffic. The word stop is used. Yes, I had to train parents to stop doing stupid things at an intersection. It was actually something I had to teach them. It was part of a parenting class. I unfortunately got roped into teaching some basics in. And I said, what were you complaining about recently? And one lady said, I was threatened with having my kids taken from me because they kept crossing the street. What do you say to them? Don't cross the street. So you said the word cross the street with the word don't in front of it to someone how old? Immediately she figured out she did something stupid, but I said, answer the fucking question. He's 6. He's not able to process language as easily as you can. You made a stupid mistake. Don't make another stupid mistake. Are you acknowledging you made a stupid mistake? Maybe. I said, it's not a stupid mistake. Don't let anybody talk to you like that. You made a mistake. All mistakes are stupid if you want to push it, but they're also natural. You haven't been a kid in a long time. You don't know this. School teachers know all about this. They learn the hard way. You have to be explicit. Use the word stop. Use single word commands. Treat a kid like a dog. Maybe they'll actually be able to sit up and shake hands. Don't quote me on that. I can't prove it. Anyway, the next thing is, yes, prevent your kid from dying by doing what works, not what is ideal. I don't like the little harnesses they put on some kids, but some kids have way too much energy and controlling them is impossible. So they put a harness and a fucking leash on the kid. Really find it demeaning. But yeah, I'd rather survive my childhood being the idiot I obviously was, and you know I was, rather than not. So what does this got to do with all this other stuff? The ambiguity? People have instruction videos on how to build silhouette target bullet catchers that would make it to where nothing gets into the environment. They recycle all the lead, and they're easily cleaned with, a putty knife, and they never have to breathe it in. They've solved almost every problem, especially if you have to use training ammunition, which normally has a lot of crap coming out of it because you're shooting so much of it. No instructions on how to build it? None? I can't be the first person. So I'll put it up, and maybe that'll help. And again, this isn't just me playing around with cardboard in the room and on a small scale. It wasn't a Fruit Loops box. It was 2 of them. So anyway, and why did I do the joke about the ambiguity? Websites that deliberately introduce errors so that you'll click the wrong button to drive you through negative reinforcement to do what they want, which is to use the latest copy of Chrome by Google because YouTube wants that, or on Facebook, or wherever. Or they all want you to be on cell phones. How many of you experienced this with cell phones where they try to make you update? Oh, you won't have these problems if you update to the latest piece of software, which means you can't master it, and you certainly can't lock it down. Hint, hint. How many of you are running Windows 10? How many of you wanted to? Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that. But again, this was just about, bullet traps. It had nothing to do with a bunch of shit I saw this week.